Hi there, Matt Wade here, and today we're going to cover how to sync files in OneDrive, SharePoint, and even Microsoft Teams to your devices for offline access using the OneDrive Sync tool. So let's jump into it. Microsoft 365 work and school accounts have a handy way to keep files locally on your PC, Mac, or smartphone using OneDrive. Yep, OneDrive isn't just a place for you to store files, it's also a syncing feature and an app for iOS and Android, which admittedly can be confusing from a brand perspective. With Sync, you're able to access files stored in OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams through Windows Explorer and macOS Finder, which is especially useful if you love the days of share drives and clicking through to get your files right through Explorer or Finder. OneDrive also lets you choose which files you want to save on your device, so you don't overflow its storage with tons of folders and files you don't actually care about. Open an Office file while connected to the internet, and it'll save all changes automatically, just like if you opened it through OneDrive, SharePoint, or Teams directly. Open it while offline, and changes will be automatically uploaded the next time you get reconnected. Let's run through some demo on how to do this on a PC. The PC and Mac experiences are almost identical, so I'll stick to just the one. First, make sure you either have the official OneDrive Sync client, that's the official name of the sync tool, or that you've downloaded and installed it. If you have Windows 10, you should already have it installed. Otherwise, find a link to the download in the video description. The same app is used for OneDrive Personal, like a Live or Microsoft account, and OneDrive for Business for Work and School accounts. You can find it through the Start menu and searching OneDrive. Once it's open, you'll see a little blue OneDrive logo in the system tray. Click that to log in, and you should be set for syncing. You can log in with multiple accounts if you'd like. Okay, so I've gotten started here with my Office 365 or Microsoft 365 account, and what I want to do is open up OneDrive. So I'm on Windows. I can go to the Start menu here and just type in OneDrive. This is where you're going to find it, is through the Start menu. Again, if you don't already have it, make sure to install it. And once you have it open, you should see a little icon in the bottom right. Now, I also have my current account signed in, but what I want to do is sign in with another account. So let's do that. All right, now that I'm signed in, what's going to happen is my OneDrive, the actual place where I store all my personal files, will automatically become available to me in my Windows Explorer or macOS Finder. OneDrive is going to run me through a little intro thing here, so let's click through that. It's going to ask me where I want to store those files. I'm good with storing them where it's going to choose by default. It's going to show me that I can drag and drop those files directly into Explorer, which is super handy, which is basically the features that we're hoping to get. And then it's also going to show me that I can share files through the right-click menu. And then these are the three things you really want to be aware of. First is basically the download status. So if the file is not downloaded to your device, you're going to see a little blue icon, a little blue cloud icon, means that it's a cloud file. Anytime you open it, it's going to be downloaded at that time. So you need to have an internet connection to be able to open it. If it is an open green check mark, it means that it has been downloaded recently, it's available currently, but it may not actually remain downloaded. And if it's a solid green check mark, that means that you have set it so that it always is available on your device. Those are important aspects, and we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, now that we're closed there, I can open up my Windows Explorer, and this will show me a list of quick apps on the left side, and one of those is going to be my OneDrive for Contoso. Contoso is the organization that we're using for this demo, and this is the list of all the files that are coming from my OneDrive. Now, if I look at OneDrive in the browser, you'll see all these folders. There's 6 and a number of files. You should see the same items in this listing. Now, let's take a look at the status. This is what's really important. If you see a blue cloud, which at first every file should be a blue cloud, none of them are going to be downloaded, except for a couple that I actually had just done before. These are basically files on demand, is what the feature name is called. You can see that they're there. If you click to if you double click to open any of them right now, they will download instantly. They will open for you as long as you have an internet connection. But if you do not have an internet connection, you want to make sure you have these available to you. Let's say you want one of these here. You would just right click on the item, and there's an option to always keep on this device. So if I click that, it's going to refresh, and you'll see I got a green check mark next to that. Let's say I want all of those files that I've been sharing in my Microsoft Teams chats, just in case. I'm going to always keep on this device as well. Now, let's say some of these end up taking up a bunch of space. I don't want this folder any longer. I can right click and click free up space, and that will update and turn back into a blue cloud, which means it's no longer using space on my computer. Another feature, you'll see a little person head here. This means that these files have been shared. You can share files directly from OneDrive, from the Windows Explorer experience through here by going to Share, and you'll get the same share options here that you would if you were going through OneDrive in the browser or SharePoint, anything like that. And once it gets shared, that will get updated with the information. Now, if you want to manage the access or do anything more complex with sharing, I would definitely recommend to just go back to OneDrive in the browser and do it there, because that's really where all that stuff lives, but definitely useful and handy to have. Okay, but let's talk about SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. So, of course, behind every Microsoft team is a SharePoint site. That site has a documents library. The default documents library is where all the files in a team get stored. Every channel in that team has a folder in that documents library. So let's say I'm looking at this Mark 8 project team. Here it is down here. These are all the folders, or all the channels that we have for this team. And let's just make sure we show those so you can see it. And let's drag this up too. All right, so if I go into any one of these channels and I click on Files, I can click Open in SharePoint, and this will pop open and show me all of the files that are available in this, this site and in this team. So if I click on Documents and go up a level, these are all the different channels, plus some extra files that have been uploaded here as well, because you don't just have to upload into the channel. But if I wanted to go into, let's say, go-to-market plan, this does have some files in here. I can click on here and I can see that there's files. So very quickly from Teams, you can see there is a sync button right here. I can press that button and it will sync this channel's files to my, through OneDrive to my computer. Now, one thing I will say, you can do that, but a lot of times when you're in a team, you kind of want access to everything in the team. I very much recommend skipping this step and going straight to the SharePoint site and going up to the documents level. So instead of syncing just the go-to-market plan, which is essentially like going to go-to-market plan and clicking sync in SharePoint, if I sync this, it's only syncing this folder. I want to sync the whole documents library. So I'm going to go up a level and then click sync. This will bring up an option to sync this. And actually, I did some testing before, which is why it's asking me that question. But I'm going to now bring this down, and I can click outside of here to close it. And if I go back to Windows Explorer, you will see that in this area, I now have a section called Contoso with a little office building next to it. And you'll see that I have the Mark 8 project team documents. I also have an older folder from before when I was testing, which is that folder or one channel in it. And there's nothing in here now because the connection is now broken, but note that both of these exist. They can exist at the same time, and it can actually be very annoying to have team, all documents, team, channel, when this channel actually lives in this document section anyway, and you can always just favorite these or grab one of these and say I want this to be under quick access. You can just drop it in there, right? And like that's super easy to do and not something that you have to really worry about. So I could always drop that right there, and there's my quick access, no worries anyway. So SharePoint and Teams, the concept is basically the same. Now, there's another feature in within SharePoint and Teams and OneDrive where if you don't want to actually sync like the team or the SharePoint site or the document library, the folders, you can actually add it as a favorite or as a connection to OneDrive, so it actually gets listed under your OneDrive listing as opposed to under your separate organization area here. So let's say I want to go into this sales and marketing area. This feature is only available through SharePoint at this point. You can't do it in Teams directly. So let's go to Open in SharePoint, and we'll pull this up. What I can do here is I can add a shortcut to OneDrive, to this entire document library or to this folder, whatever I'm looking at. But let's say I want to go up to the documents level, and let's say I really like having that monthly reports option. I can either click the check mark and click Add to Shortcut, or there's a little Add Shortcut button right here. So I'm just going to click on that. Note that if you are already syncing a team or a SharePoint list, a SharePoint document library or folder, you cannot do this as well and get the sync benefit. It will actually cause a conflict within OneDrive where it says, hold on, we already have these files, so we can't do that. So if I go to OneDrive and I refresh, I should have that folder from that SharePoint site, and it's called Monthly Reports. You can tell because it has a little link icon on top of the folder. And if I go back to OneDrive here, you'll see I have the exact same option right there. It also has a little link. These are not moved to OneDrive. It's basically like a pointer from OneDrive to the SharePoint site, but it just makes things easier to have access to. I can do all the same things here with making sure that these are saved locally. When it comes to sharing, I would definitely not toy around with sharing because you want to do that from Teams or from SharePoint because the permissions on those sites or those teams are more important than being able to just one-off, share stuff out. But you can see I can do a quick locally store all this stuff and have it available to me. Very, very easy, very quick and very cool. Now, one other quick thing I wanted to point out, you can have multiple accounts here. So you see I have two different OneDrive icons. One is for my personal account and one is for the demo account. And you can always kind of bounce between the two if you need to. Another thing you should always be aware of, if there's a little red X here, there's something wrong. You need to fix it. If syncing is not working, that can be bad. You can always play around with what's happening up here as well. You can change where folders are, where things are being stored. You can add an account. There are a lot of setting options. You should really take a look at that. Now, let's run through some demo on how to use this on a smartphone. In this case, we'll use an iPhone, but Android's experience is similar. Everything you see here also works the same on iPad. First, make sure you've installed the OneDrive app from the respective app store. Log in with your work or school account, and you should be set for syncing. Like the desktop app, you can log in with multiple accounts if you'd like. Okay, from the smartphone, you're going to want to open the OneDrive app. Also, it's super handy to have the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote apps available and downloaded, because if you try to open a file from there, it's going to open it in that file or in that app, and if that app doesn't exist, it's not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to edit it, which is going to be kind of annoying. So if I open up OneDrive, I'm logged in here. If you're not logged in already, it should ask you to do so, but you can always jump up to the top left and click Add Account. That's definitely an option. And then you'll see your list of files and folders here. So from the earlier demo, you see I have all the same files and folders. And importantly, I also see that monthly reports, that linked folder that came from one of my teams, which is super handy. And if you want to make these files or folders available offline, just click the ellipsis next to a name, and you can click this Make Available Offline, and you can see a little gray check mark next to the file name that tells you that that file is available offline. Now, you can also look at some of the other features that are available in OneDrive. Let's tap Home. This will give you a list of recent files. It'll give you a list of shared libraries, which will show you some of the files that you're working in recently. It also shows you your offline files. So that's really critical. So that offline files is going to be under Home. Scroll all the way down. Super, super handy. And then the other thing is hop over to Libraries. And these are all going to be a list of your frequent history or your favorite sites in SharePoint. Never forget about that following, not following star in the top right of a SharePoint site. That makes it very easy to get to something. So let's say I want to go into the Mark 8 project team, same project we were looking at on the PC. I can look at all the files that are in here. So documents align with the team. And this is the same list of folders. So let's say that go-to-market plan, which is what we're looking at in the team. If I tap that, I can make this available offline as well. You can see there's a little blue sync icon that is syncing. It tells me that there's a little status update on how many files are left to sync. And once it's done, I have that little check mark. If I go to Home, I scroll down, I can now see all of those files are available to me, and in a very quick way to get to them because it's just those files that are most important to me. But a lot of people don't realize that Libraries tab there, that shows your teams and your SharePoint sites. So very, very handy. Now let's cover some tips and tricks and best practices on this. First, SharePoint and OneDrive can hold files up to 250 gigabytes in size. That's huge. If you're uploading large files, don't drag and drop them into Teams or OneDrive or SharePoint directly. Instead, drag them into a folder in Explorer or Finder and let the sync tool do the work to upload it. If you disconnect or turn off your computer, the sync tool can resume the upload, whereas if you're depending on a browser to upload stuff, it will just fail in that situation. Second, keep an eye on those blue and green icons, and if you're starting to run out of space in your computer, you want to set some of those bigger files and folders that you might not use all that often to be cloud only. Use only what you need at a given time rather than trying to hoard everything on your device. The more space you use in your device, the slower it may run. For a quicker experience, save only the really important stuff. Quick tip, when you stop storing a file locally, it goes to the trash. Empty the trash to get the space back. Third, stop syncing individual teams and SharePoint sites when you're not using them anymore. Theoretically, when you're removed from a team or a site, you lose access, so you shouldn't see those files anyway, but if you're just hanging around for a random input here and there, you don't need a 100 gigabyte site full of stuff bloating up your hard drive. Fourth, download things before you need them. If you're going to a customer site for a big meeting where you're presenting, you want to make sure you have all the necessary files on your device before you leave your home base. That way, if you have trouble getting on their Wi-Fi or they have bad cell reception and you can't hotspot it, you still have the files available and you can follow the agenda or share your slides. Same goes for the phone, really. Being able to pull up the agenda once in a while on your phone, even in an area with no cell service and a hard-to-join Wi-Fi network, is incredibly helpful. Fifth, get to know the OneDrive mobile app. Did you know it can scan documents and whiteboards and create PDFs using the app? Pretty slick. For the next level up, download the Office mobile app. You can scan documents and tables and automatically create Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. The tech is pretty cool. Sixth, the Add Shortcut to OneDrive feature can be really handy if you like having your files listed in one central place. Grabbing one library or folder at a time and seeing it directly in your OneDrive can be a major win. Don't forget about that. Seventh, keep an eye on that OneDrive icon in Windows and Mac OS. If there are syncing problems, it has an easy to miss X symbol, which means your files aren't actually pushing to the cloud, which can lead to issues ranging from minor to massive. So always be aware of the status of the app. Never take it for granted because sometimes it just craps out. Last, know when to use which tool. OneDrive is great for your personal files. SharePoint team sites and Microsoft Teams are great for collaboration. And SharePoint communication sites are perfect for sharing information to a broad audience. Check out my Which Tool When overview in this video up here. And I think that's it for now. There's a lot to know about syncing, as you can see, but once you have some expertise, it becomes second nature and really helps make life easier in so many ways. And if you like helpful tips and tricks like this, you may be interested in my new book. Teach Yourself Visually Microsoft Teams is now available for pre-order and will be the go-to guide for everyone collaborating and meeting with Microsoft Teams. That includes files and syncing. Check out the link below. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. Please leave any questions or comments below. As always, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Happy syncing all those important files so you always have the important info at your fingertips.